don't have a monster inside of you. None of us do. But we do live in a world that likes to make us think we do, and it causes us big problems. This video is about the reframe that can help you rebel against that damaging message. So the received wisdom is that we need to battle our demons in order to self-actualize or have success. We hear this as a metaphor for self-improvement and even healing all the time. But as someone who spent 10 years working as a therapist specializing in anxiety and self-sabotage, I can tell you that when you consider the things we actually have to do to overcome our fears or let go of destructive habits, this personal demons trope is clearly inherently flawed. Now, I do realise this might sound like a contradiction coming from someone who talks about monsters of the mind so often, but bear with me for 2 minutes because there's a delightful, in my opinion, twist to this metaphor, which I'll explain at the end of the video. First, a brief explanation. So, monster is the term that I use to describe the parts of the personality that inspire self-sabotaging thoughts, feelings, or behaviours. For example, chronic catastrophization, persistent negative emotions, or unhelpful habits like procrastination or comfort eating. The term monster fits these parts of the personality not because they're evil, they aren't, but because we see them and treat them as if they're evil, which is why we struggle with them so much. When you look deeply into any repetitive self-sabotage, you'll find some kind of pain at its root. Our most destructive behaviours are born out of fear and trauma, often as coping mechanisms. The problem is that all too often, over time, the coping mechanism ends up fueling the pain rather than alleviating it. For example, someone who has a fear that they're no fun to be around might start drinking a little too much at parties in order to loosen up. But if their drinking becomes habitual, as it so often does, and gets out of hand, then it can start to create a very real disconnect between them and other people, which compounds their original fear, turning it into a limiting belief rather than a stray doubt, which makes it a much bigger problem than it was to begin with. Now, we all have limiting beliefs. We don't get through life without them, and they can cause very big problems for us. But the thing about this thinking is that just like the creatures that used to live under our childhood beds, limiting beliefs are not real. They're perspectives, not absolute truths. And because of this, they can be rewritten. You can completely change the way you see yourself by re-scripting your limiting beliefs. But you can only do that if you dare to face them in the first place. And so this is why our monsters aren't actually monsters. If you stop trying to battle your demons and choose to look at them, to work with them instead, you'll find that moments of self-sabotage actually hold the key to their own resolution. Our monsters show us the fears that we need to face. In other words, our monsters are our teachers. Moments of discomfort are lessons, and I mean that very literally. The brain creates pain, both physical and emotional, as a means to draw our attention to something important, to something that needs to change. And so that leads me to the delightful twist. If you look at the letters that form the word monster a little differently, if you reframe your spelling of that word, you'll find that monster is an anagram for the word mentors, which gives us a much healthier way of looking at moments of self-sabotage. Ultimately, you have a choice. Do you see a recurring destructive habit as proof of a single monstrous truth? Or do you choose to see it as a series of prompts and nudges designed to help you face what you've been running from and walk away stronger? So this person is absolutely right. You don't have a monster inside of you. There is no one big single demon. There is only ever a sequence of teachings. What you learn from them is up to you.